Good morning, students. This is my second lecture for you regarding the drug discovery and drug design. Now, in the previous lecture, we covered about why the drug is required, what is the drug, that is its definition, and the types of the drug. There are two types of drug, structurally specific and structurally non-specific. After that, we discussed a little bit about the action of the drug. Now there are two type of action for every drug. Now earlier we discussed that any kind of the drug, in order to show its action in our body, that is in our or a human or animal body, that should be appropriately bound with its specific target called as a drug target. So a drug, in order to show its activity, it should be bind. So there are two type of drug actions. One is pharmacokinetic action, the other one is pharmacodynamic action. We already discussed that the initial consequences of drug molecule in the human body before binding with the target called as pharmacokinetic action. After that, the consequences that are happen to the when the drug molecule bind with its target called as pharmacodynamic action. Now today's class we should learn about in detail what is pharmacokinetic action. Say pharmacokinetic action. Now pharmacokinetic action of the drug. The initial consequences of any drug molecule before binding to the target is called as pharmacokinetic action. The pharmacokinetic action includes, for any drug, first its administration. The drug molecule required for the patient need its administration to the patient, and then its absorption, followed by its distribution in the body, followed by its metabolism, and then its excretion. So the administration, absorption, drug distribution, drug metabolism, drug excretion in our body, from our body, comes under pharmacokinetic action. Let us study in detail about a concept of pharmacokinetic action. First one, drug administration, drug administration or drug absorption. Drug administration or drug absorption. Now let us, what is drug administration? The application of a drug to the human or animal body is called as drug administration. The application of a drug to the human or animal body is called as drug administration. So depending upon the requirement of the drug and depending upon the nature of the drug, there are different types of drug administration called as routes of drug administration. So depending upon its requirement, that is depending upon its need or depending upon its nature, there are different routes of a drug administration to the human or animal body. The first and best method is oral administration. Oral administration. Oral administration. So now we are in pharmacokinetic action. We are studying about pharmacokinetic action. In that, first pharmacokinetic action is drug administration or drug absorption. So in that, there are different routes of drug administration. First route of drug administration is oral drug administration. Most of the drugs are applied orally. That is, the administration or application of the drug through a oral cavity is called as oral administration. So application of a drug to the patient through a oral cavity is called as oral administration. So most of the drugs are administered through orally. That is a drug which are stable, any kind of drug which are stable under the gastric acid pH, that is 1. A drug at stable at gastric pH, any drug that is stable under gastric acid pH are suitable for the administration of orally. We have many kind of drug in a we are applying a drug most of the cases through orally. So what kind of the drugs are orally applied? A drug which are stable under gastric acid pH are applied, are suitable to apply orally. Is it clear? Now any drug applied orally may be in the form of tablet or may be in the form of capsule. First, when entered into an intestine and a digestive system, the drug in the form of tablet or the drug in the form of a capsule is disintegrated into a coarse material. Coarse material is further disintegrated into a powdery form, followed by transformed it into a fine powder, followed by the transformation into a suspension, where a solid particles are distributed in a solution. It is transformed into suspension. Suspension is further transformed into a solution. After that, a drug in its soluble form in a solution is absorbed by the tissue. So the drugs which are applied orally are absorbed in the gastric tissue, that is in the tissue of gastrointestine. So the action of these drugs, the drugs which are applied orally, their action is slow, very slow, because it requires, we just now we discussed about the oral drugs are the drugs either in the form of tablet or either in the form of capsule. Now why? Because the time of action is slow is first, after its application or administration, there are n number of steps to be involved before its absorption and reaching to the circulatory system and reaching to the target. That is, it should be disintegrated into coarse and then powder and then fine powder and then suspension and then solution. After that it will be absorbed. So every stage of the drug integration into conversion into a soluble form requires some time. After converting it as a solution form, it is absorbed by the tissue, concerned tissue, and it will be injected to a circulatory system, where the circulatory system acts as the transporter which carries the drug molecule to its target in order to action, in order for its action. So therefore, because of so many steps required are involved, the drugs orally applied will be acting slowly. Is it clear? So that is called as oral administration of the drug. Now we have n number of drugs. The drugs used for analgesic activity, some drugs used for pyretic activity, fever reducing drugs, and analgesic drugs, and anti-ulcer drug, anti-cancer drug, etc. drug. Now whenever the action, a slower action of the drug is required, in most of the cases administered through orally. Now second one, under drug administration, the second route of drug administration is sublingual administration. Sublingual. Sublingual administration. The drug administration of the drug or application of the drug through oral cavity, but here the drug is absorbed, not reached to intestine, it is absorbed in the oral cavity. The application of the drug either even though through the oral, that is through the mouth, but it never reach out to intestine, it will be directly absorbed in the oral cavity, called as sublingual administration. In the first case, where the drug is reached to intestine to digestive system, but here in this case, however applied through the mouth, but it never reached to, or it never travel through the intestine, it absorbed directly in the oral cavity, that is called as sublingual administration. Now the drugs which are unstable, whatever the drugs which are unstable under gastric acid pH are administered suitably or through a sublingual method of drug administration. Example, you take many sublingual drugs, say chewable drugs, chewable supplements, and you take you take a Digin tablet, etc., are applied through orally. You take a Strepsil, you take a Vicks, you take Halls. So all these drugs are chewable drugs, chewable because they are unstable. When reached to gastric acid, become decomposed. Therefore, they made in such a way to be chewed in order to absorb in the oral cavity without reaching, instead of reaching to intestine, called as sublingual administration. Now, coming to the third type of drug administration. Routes of drug administration. One is oral administration, second one is sublingual administration, and the third one is inhalation. The third route of drug administration is inhalation. Now where a gaseous anesthetic or a drug in the form of gas, a gaseous drugs like most of the anesthetics which are administered to the patient or to the human body by the process of inhalation through the nose, called as inhalation of administration. Administration by the inhalation, where the drug when inhaled by the human through his nose, it directly reaches to the lungs, where it is absorbed by the tissue of the lungs. The drugs which are targeted onto the lungs are applied through the process of inhalation. Example, we have most of the drugs like anesthetic drugs, like asthmatic drugs, etc. drugs which are inhaled through a nose, reach to the lungs, directly reach to the drugs in the form of a gas, and then it will be absorbed in the through the tissue of the lungs. So that is called as inhalation process. Now fourth one, injection. Now whenever fastest action is required under a serious conditions, whenever the fastest action is required from the drug, it is applied or administered directly in solution form and injected directly to the circulatory system, called as injection process of drug administration. So whenever we need a fastest action, the drug directly in the form of a solution will be injected directly to the circulatory system, called as process of injection, administration of drug by the injection. Now the drug applied through the injection shows its action very fast, because here so many steps as required for oral administration will be reduced, because in the oral administration, just now we studied that the drug should be integrated and converted into powder, fine powder, suspension, solution. After that it will be absorbed. It may take some times, where in the process of injection we are applying drug directly in the form of a solution. Therefore directly it will be absorbed and reach out to circulatory system, and then it reach out to target. So there are some steps are reduced from oral to injection. Therefore the action of the drug administered through the injection will be so fast. So that is called as injection. Next, fifth one, application of the drug on epithelial layers. Application of the drug on epithelial surface or epithelial layers. Now, the structurally non-specific drugs. Now, in the first class, we have studied that the structurally non-specific drug don't have any specific target inside the human body. They may act anywhere. Therefore, they may produce sometimes a side effect. Hence, those kind of the drugs are administered on epithelial layer, that is on skin. Example, you take ointment, you take eye drops, you take ear drops, you take lotions, you take creams, you take a pain reliever oils, etc., etc., applied on only a surface of the skin, that is on epithelial layer. So that is called as administration on epithelial surface or layer, where this drug action is very slow because their absorption is almost very slow. These drugs never absorbed. They act only on the surfaces, so called as epithelial application. So these are the major 5 routes of drug administration: oral, sublingual, inhalation process, injection process, and application on epithelial surface. So this is with this we covered the first phase of drug administration, that is the first step of drug pharmacokinetic will be drug administration or absorption. Now, under the pharmacokinetic action, so now we are studying about pharmacokinetic action. We apply the drug either by any process. Now, after its application to the human body, what happens? There must be a distribution called as drug distribution. So this is the second step of drug pharmacokinetic action. One is drug administration, the second one is drug distribution. Drug administration and now second step will be drug distribution. So after its application, a drug is distributed first throughout the body. Let us discuss or study how the drug is distributed. Now, the body fluid, the human body, the total body fluid is composed of 99% water, 1% lipid. 99% water, 99% water and 1% lipid. What it is? It is a body fluid. The total body fluid is composed by 99% water and 1% lipid. Now, the ratio of water to lipid is the ratio of water to lipid in all the organ system is said? No. The ratio of water is to a lipid is different at different organ systems of the body. Say for example, say you take central nervous system, where the ratio of lipid to water is different from a circulatory system, from a respiratory system, from a digestive system, as well as a renal system. So throughout the body is full of a fluid of water and lipid. Overall, its content will be 99% water, 1% lipid. But there is a difference in the ratio of water content to lipid content at one place to other place within the body. Therefore, the pH of the liquid, the pH of the fluid, when the ratio of water is to lipid is different. The pH of the fluid is also become different. That is, the pH of the fluid at various organ system or at various places of the body is also different. Now when the ratio of water is to water is to lipid is different, hence with respect to its pH, the pH value of the body fluid at various organ system is also different. Is it clear? So depending upon the pH value of the fluid, based on the pH value of the fluid, the body fluid is divided into 4 zones called as 4 compartments. So are you following? So when the water and lipid content at different organ systems within the body is different, the pH value is different at different organ system within the body. So based on the pH value of the body fluid, it will be divided into 4 zones or 4 compartments called as plasma compartment, interstitial compartment, intracellular compartment, transcellular compartment or zone. First one is plasma, the second one is interstitial compartment, the third one is intracellular compartment or zone, the fourth one is transcellular compartment, like this. This is one compartment. The second compartment is a larger one. Second compartment is a larger one. And third compartment, this is third compartment. This is fourth compartment. Fourth compartment. So the total body fluid based on its pH we have divided. We have divided whatever the fluid present in the first compartment has the same pH, and the fluid present in the second compartment has the same pH but different from the first compartment, third compartment and fourth compartment. So each and every compartment consisting of a fluid differ with respect to its pH. So the first compartment is called as plasma. The first compartment is called as plasma compartment or plasma zone. The second compartment is called as interstitial. Interstitial compartment. The third compartment is called as intracellular. Intracellular. Intracellular zone or intracellular compartment. Intracellular compartment. The fourth compartment is a transcellular compartment. So these are the 4 compartments in relation to the body fluid with respect to its pH value. Just now I told that the pH of the fluid in the first compartment is different from second, third and fourth. Similarly, the pH of the fluid in the second compartment is different from 1, 3, 4. So each and every compartment has a fluid with a different pH value. Is it clear? So the first compartment is a plasma compartment, which consisting of nearly 5% water. Nearly 5% water, the remaining will be lipid. Whereas interstitial compartment, which is a larger compartment, now there is a more fluid with the same pH. Now it consisting of nearly 14% water. 5% water in the plasma, 14% water in the interstitial compartment. The third compartment is the intracellular compartment. It consisting of 35% water. It consisting of 35% water. The last compartment is a transcellular compartment which contain 2% water. 2% water. Now, plasma has a 5% water, remaining will be lipid. Now, interstitial compartment has a 14%, remaining lipid. And intracellular compartment has a 35% of water, and this has a 2%. Last compartment has 2% of water. So, this is the intracellular compartment which contain more water. The remaining two, transcellular and plasma, containing less content of water. Now you see, depending upon the percentage of water, the pH value is also different in each compartment. Is it clear? Next, every compartment, each compartment is divided. This is the division. Every compartment, this is the division. This is the division. Now this is the division for the division of first compartment from the second, and this is also a division to divide the second compartment from third and fourth compartment, and a division to divide a fourth compartment from the third compartment. So every compartment is divided with a semi-permeable membrane. Every compartment, each compartment is divided with a semi-permeable membrane called as blood-brain barrier. Blood-brain barrier. This is blood-brain barrier. Blood-brain barrier. So every compartment is divided with a semi-permeable membrane. We know what is the functioning of semi-permeable membrane. It permits only a required or allowed substances. The remaining substances are prevented by it to pass through it, called as semi-permeable membrane. Here we can call as blood-brain barrier. Is it clear? Now this is about the story of body fluid and its distribution throughout the body. Now, when we apply the drug to the patient or to the human body, after its absorption, it is first reached to a plasma compartment. This is the drug. A drug molecule first reached to a plasma compartment. Next, D stands for the drug molecule. Now when it reached to plasma or first compartment, a drug will bind with a protein available in the compartment. That is, a drug when reached to first compartment, it bind with a protein available. Most of the drugs are bound with an albumin. It is a protein and existed in the bound form. This is the drug in its bound form. Now you observe, this is the D with a circle. Now D is the free drug. A circled D will be the bound drug. Bound with what? Bound with albumin, which is a protein existed in each compartment. Is it clear? Now, only free drug. Now this is the first compartment situation. Only free drug is capable to move across the blood-brain barrier. Only a free drug, not a bound. Only a free drug is capable or allowed to pass through the blood-brain barrier. Just now we discussed it as a semi-permeable membrane. So the free drug is capable to move from one compartment to other compartment. say D and D, and when reached to second compartment, again it will also exist in the bound form, Similarly, the free drug from second compartment is also moved to a third compartment. When reached to third compartment, it may be bound with again albumin. Similarly to fourth compartment. Again existed in both forms. You can observe. First, when reached to first compartment, bound with albumin, and every compartment, every compartment has a ratio of bound drug to free drug. So every compartment consisting both free drug as well as bound drug. Now only free drug is capable to move across the blood-brain barrier and reach up to fourth compartment. So in each compartment, the drug is existed in two forms, bound form and a free form. So only free form of the drug is capable to move across the blood-brain barrier to all the compartment, and bound form of the drug is confined to respective compartments. It is unable to move from one compartment to other compartment. It is never permitted by the blood-brain barrier, that is semi-permeable membrane. So it is confined only to a respective compartment. Is it clear? Next. Now a drug, when we apply to the human body, so this is the drug applied to the human body. First it will absorbed by the tissue and it will be stored in the tissues. Certain proportion of whatever the concentration we apply to the human body, it will be absorbed by the tissue. Among that, certain proportion of the drug is stored in a tissue called as storage depots, drug storage depot. There it may be stored in the tissue of the lungs, or in the tissue of the circulatory, or in the tissue of the digestive, or in the tissue of the central nervous system, or whatever it may be, respiratory system. So first, a drug, here it is administered. Administration. A drug, it is administered. First it will be absorbed. Now this is storage depot. It will be absorbed by the tissue, and certain proportion of the drug is stored in the tissue called as drug storage depots. Now from the drug storage depot, it will be reached only certain proportion, not whole the drug is reached to a first compartment. Only certain proportion is stored. The remaining drug will be reached to a first compartment. After that, it will be bound with albumin, and a free drug is moved from one compartment to other compartment, and to the other compartment, and to the other compartment. Now a drug, just now we discussed, whatever the concentration we apply to the human body, not whole the drug will reach to first compartment. It will be stored in some proportion in a tissues, a concerned tissues. After that, the remaining concentration of the drug among the applied will be reached to a first compartment. Is it clear? That is, certain proportion is stored in the tissue, certain other proportion is reached to a first compartment. Now the drug, now from here, so every compartment consisting of a drug in two forms, bound form and free form, where D stands for free form of the drug, where circled D stands for bound form. After that, a drug is reached to its target. For from the concerned compartment or from the respective compartment. Sometimes the drug may be reached to target from the plasma. Or drug may be reached to the target from interstitial compartment, or drug may be reached from intracellular compartment to the target, or drug may be reached from transcellular compartment to its target in order to bound. This is about drug distribution. Drug is distributed to all the compartment of the body fluid, that is plasma, interstitial, intracellular and transcellular compartment. Now depending upon its pH, depending upon the pH value of the drug and depending upon its desired target for action, it may be released or it may be traveled from a respective compartment to the target or desired target in order to bound and to exhibit its action. So this is called as drug distribution. Now in this way drug is distributed after its application or administration. Now coming to drug storage. Now certain proportion of the drug which is stored in the tissue, that is storage depot, and certain proportion is reached to first compartment and to the second and to the third and to the fourth compartment. From a respective compartment a drug is reached to target. Now here a very important phenomena involved, that is the drug which is stored in the storage depot, drug storage depot, that is tissue, will be equilibrium with the drug existed in the first compartment. The drug stored in the tissue or storage depot will be equilibrium with the first compartment. The drug existed in the first compartment will be equilibrium with the second compartment. The drug existed in the second compartment will be equilibrium with the third, will be equilibrium also with the fourth compartment. You see, drug in the storage depot will be equilibrium with first, to the second, to the third and to the fourth. Now once a drug is released or reached to its target from any of the four compartments, now its concentration is decreased in the respective compartment from which it is departed to its target. Thereby a drug is slowly released from its storage depot. When the drug concentration or drug is reached to its target from a respective compartment, its concentration will be decreased from any of the one compartment. Therefore a drug, just now we studied that the drug stored in the depot will be equilibrium with the compartment. Therefore when the concentration of the drug decreases in a respective compartment, a drug from the storage depot is slowly released to reach again with the first and second and third and fourth compartment. Similarly, now whatever the drug reached to the target will be equilibrium with its respective compartment. The drug reached to its target is in equilibrium with the respective compartment. After reaching to the target, it will bound and it will start to show its action. When it starts its action, its concentration at the target is decreases. When the concentration of the drug at the target decreases, again it is slowly released from a respective compartment. Simultaneously the concentration of the drug in the respective compartment decreases, therefore it is released from the storage depot. So the drug in the storage depot, the drug in the compartment, the drug concentration at the target, all in equilibrium state or all in equilibrium concentration. Therefore once again I can explain, a drug released from the any of the four compartment to the target in order to bound and to show its action. So here certain proportion of the drug is existed at the target, certain proportion existed in the compartment, certain proportion existed in the storage depot. All are in equilibrium. Once the drug starts its functioning to show its pharmacodynamic action, its concentration is decreased at target. Therefore, the drug is slowly released from the compartment because these two are in equilibrium. Once the drug is released from the compartment, its concentration decreased in the respective compartment. Therefore, the drug is again slowly released from the tissue or storage depot. Because these two are, the drug in the compartment and storage depot are in equilibrium. Now this is about drug distribution. Are you are you understood? I think you are understood. So again, in brief, the total body fluid is consisting of 99% water and 1% lipid. Depending upon its pH, the ratio of the water and lipid at different organ system is different. That means the pH of the body fluid is different from one organ system to the other organ system inside the body. Now based on its pH, we have divided the body fluid into 4 compartments: plasma, interstitial, intracellular, transcellular. So pH of each compartment is different from one compartment to other compartment. Now every compartment is divided with a semi-permeable membrane called as blood-brain barrier. A drug after application, it will be absorbed by the tissue and certain proportion is stored in the tissue called as storage depot. The remaining concentration of the drug is reached to first compartment and bound with the albumin. Most of the drugs are albumin, some other drugs are bound with other protein available. Most of the drugs are bound to the albumin. Now every compartment has 2 states of drug. One is bound form and free form. Only free form is allowed to cross through the blood-brain barrier. Hence it reaches to second and it reaches to third and reaches to fourth compartment. That is, the free drug is able to move across the semi-permeable membrane to first compartment to up to fourth compartment. Whereas the bound form of the drug is confined with only a respective compartment, because the semi-permeable membrane not permitted to cross through it. Now the drug is slowly released from a respective compartment to the target in order to bound and to show its action. So whatever the drug existed in the target will be equilibrium with the compartment. The compartment will be further equilibrium with the storage depot. Once the concentration of the drug is slowly decreased at the target, it will again release it from the compartment and from the storage depot, because all these 3 steps are under equilibrium state. So this is about drug distribution. Now under pharmacokinetic action, now we have discussed the 2 concepts under pharmacokinetic. One is drug administration, other one is drug distribution. Now there are 4 types of pharmacokinetic action. The third type is drug metabolism. Drug metabolism. Drug metabolism. Now the third pharmacokinetic action of the drug is drug metabolism. Any drug molecule, whatever it may be, any drug molecule, after its action, any drug molecule, before its action, it is essential for the body. Now a drug, after its action, once it shows its action, it becomes a foreign body or xenobiotic. Xenobiotic. Xenobiotic or foreign body. A drug molecule, before its action, it is not a foreign body or xenobiotic. After its action, by binding with its target, it become, now after its action, it relieved from the disease, then it is not necessary, after showing its action, relieving from the disease, it is not necessary to our body. Therefore, it become xenobiotic or foreign body. So you listen clearly. A drug after its action in our body, it is not necessary. After action it is not necessary. Before action it is necessary in order to relieve from the disease. But after its action it is not required, because it already shows its action, it is relieved from the disease. So that after its action it become foreign body or xenobiotic. Now when a foreign body or xenobiotics existed inside the body, may show certain side effects. Not only drug, any material which is not useful to our body called as xenobiotic or foreign body. Similar way, the drug after its action, it is not useful to us. Therefore, it become a foreign body inside the body. When a foreign body or a xenobiotics existed inside the body, they may produce some side effect. Therefore, in order to avoid the side effect, the drugs are designed in such a way, while designing the drugs in such a way, after their action, they must be transformed, they must be converted into some other that should be more water soluble, in order to excrete easily from our body, either through urination or through the sweat or through the tears or by other process. Is it clear? So the drugs are designed in such a way, after their action they must be converted, transformed into some other material which are more water soluble, in order to easily excretion from our body, that is elimination from our body. So we are not allowing a foreign body or xenobiotic to be existed in our body by the process of its designing. So every drug after their action must be transformed into a water soluble material and excreted easily from our body. The transformation of the drug after its action into some other material which is more water soluble to excrete from the body is called as drug metabolism. What is drug metabolism? The drug metabolism is the process of conversion of drug structure into some other material to be more water soluble to excrete from the body. The process is called as drug metabolism. The drug may undergo its metabolism after its action by two steps. Every drug after its action must be undergo a drug metabolism by the two steps, step 1 and step 2. Now the step 1 drug metabolism includes the drug may be converted into other by the process of oxidation, or the drug may be converted into some other by the process of reduction, or it may be converted into some other by the process of simple hydrolysis, or it may be converted into some other by the process of rearrangement. So these are the first step of drug metabolism. Some kind of the drugs are converted into some other using hydrolysis, some other may be converted using oxidation, some other may be used as reduction, some other may be converted by the process of rearrangement, called as first phase drug metabolism. So drug metabolism takes place in two phases: phase 1 drug metabolism, phase 2 drug metabolism. Now in the phase 1 drug metabolism, the drug may be transformed into some other, that is called as intermediate, by the process of hydrolysis or oxidation or reduction, or by rearrangement. This step is called as phase 1 drug metabolism. So whatever the intermediate we obtained in the phase 1 drug metabolism is called as drug metabolite. Drug metabolite. Now coming to phase 2. Now the intermediate formed in the stage 1 of the drug metabolism will be combined or conjugated with any other water soluble materials. So the intermediate, which earlier we called as drug metabolite, obtained from first phase drug metabolism will be conjugated with a water soluble materials or with a water soluble ions existed inside. So conjugation of drug intermediate of the first stage of drug metabolism with an ionic compounds or with a water soluble material to give a final product. This conjugation is called as phase 2 drug metabolism. Now the drug intermediate of the stage 1 or phase 1 sometimes conjugated with the sodium ion, sometimes conjugated with the potassium ion, or sometimes conjugated with the calcium plus 2 or magnesium ion, sometimes with ATP, sometimes with glucose, sometimes with GTP. So whatever the material existed, depending upon the nature of the drug molecule or depending upon the nature of the drug metabolite, it will be conjugated. It will be combined with what? With a water soluble material like ions or other material, GTP, ATP, glucose, etc., etc., to give a final product which is more and freely water soluble, that is excreted from the body. This is called as drug metabolism. So drug metabolism includes the two phases. One is phase 1, the other one is phase 2. In the phase 1, it will be undergo by the process of hydrolysis into drug metabolite, that is intermediate, or by oxidation, or by reduction, or by rearrangement. The intermediate further transformed into some other by conjugating with a water soluble material to get a final product of more water soluble. The process is called as drug metabolism phase 2. Phase 2 drug metabolism. Example, you take aspirin, which is an analgesic drug. Aspirin, acetyl salicylic acid, C double bond O, OH, O, CO, CH3. This is aspirin. Aspirin. Now, in the phase 1 drug metabolism, it will be hydrolyzed. It will be hydrolyzed into salicylic acid, OH, COOH, hydrolyzed into salicylic acid. Now this is called as drug metabolite. Drug metabolite. Now the drug metabolite is conjugated. It is conjugated with glucose. This conjugation stage is called as phase 2 drug metabolism. Phase 2 drug metabolism, conjugated with glucose to give oxygen glucose unit. This is COOH. So after conjugation of salicylic acid, which is called as drug metabolite, it will be conjugated with the glucose to form a glucuronic acid derivative. Glucuronic acid derivative. glucuronic acid derivative. This is more water soluble, more water soluble. More water soluble, therefore excreted easily. Therefore excreted easily. So an aspirin, after its action, it will be hydrolyzed in the phase 1 drug metabolism into salicylic acid, which will be conjugated with a glucose in the phase 2 drug metabolism to be transformed into glucuronic acid derivative, which is freely or more water soluble. Hence, it is excreted easily from the body. This is called as drug metabolism. Are you clear? So, whatever the drug we apply to the human body must be designed in such a way after their action, they must be transformed into metabolite by phase 1 drug metabolism and must be conjugated with water soluble material in the phase 2 drug metabolism to be transformed final product of more water soluble in order to excrete easily, called as drug metabolism. Now in general a drug after its action, it is transformed into drug metabolite, whatever it may be, is called as phase 1 drug metabolism. The phase 1 drug metabolism may include either hydrolysis or oxidation or reduction or rearrangement. So the drug may be undergo, depending upon its nature and depending upon its structure, it may be undergo hydrolysis or it may be undergo oxidation or reduction or whatever rearrangement. So these processes are called as phase 1 drug metabolite to be transform a drug structure into drug metabolite. And then in the phase 2, there is a conjugation with what? With either sodium plus magnesium plus 2 or calcium, cytosolic calcium plus 2, ATP, GTP, etc., glucose, etc. So depending upon the nature of the drug metabolite intermediate, it may be sometimes conjugated with only sodium or only magnesium or only calcium or ATP or GTP, or sometimes it may conjugated with a glucose. Just now we seen in the case of aspirin, where the aspirin intermediate drug metabolite, that is salicylic acid, conjugated in the phase 2 drug metabolism with only glucose to form a more soluble glucuronic acid derivative. So whatever it may be, so the drug metabolite conjugated with any one of these material to be formed a final product, which is more water soluble, and excreted from the body easily through any of the processes available. So this is called as drug metabolism. The drug metabolism is very, very important for any kind of the drug. Is it clear? However, you take a drug. However, if a drug is most suitable and most powerful, but it suffer from its drug metabolism, it may not be prescribed. A drug, however, it is most active, it has a desired action, pharmacological activity or desired biological activity. If suffers from its metabolism, there is a difficulty of its metabolism inside the body, never prescribed. The only drug which has an appropriate drug metabolism can be prescribed, because after its action it should be eliminated. If a drug suffers from the drug metabolism, it never excreted from the body, that resulted a side effect. However, it is a good drug, but if not excreted from our body after its action, it shows side effect, hence it is not prescribed. So this is about drug metabolism of pharmacokinetic action. The last one. Now the last one, excretion. Drug excretion. So after a drug metabolism, after a drug metabolism, it should be transformed. We will get a final product of more soluble, more water soluble, therefore easily eliminated from the body. The elimination of drug after its action from our body is called as drug excretion. Now, however, it is water soluble. The drug after its metabolism transformed into more water soluble material or more water soluble structure, hence eliminated easily from the body. The elimination is called as excretion. Elimination of drug from the body after its action is called as drug excretion. Now certain drugs can be excreted. So everyone is water soluble after its metabolism. Some drugs are excreted through the sweat. Sweatening. Excreted through the sweatening. Some other are excreted through urination. Some other drugs are excreted through tears. So sweatening, urination and tearing is the process of drug elimination from the body called as excretion. So depending upon their nature, they may be excreted either through sweatening or urination or tearing, called as drug excretion. So these are the 4 topics of drug pharmacokinetics. So we have studied drug action. There are 2 types of drug action. One is pharmacokinetic action, the other one is pharmacodynamic action. So pharmacokinetic action includes drug administration, now drug distribution, drug metabolism and drug excretion. So in abbreviation it is called as ADME, ADME of the drug. So these 4 concepts comes under the pharmacokinetic action. So with this we have completed the pharmacokinetic action. Now in the tomorrow's class we will discuss about pharmacodynamic action. So this is the whatever we discussed now belongs to pharmacokinetic action of before binding to the target. Now in the next class, in the tomorrow's class, we will discuss about pharmacodynamic action. What is the pharmacodynamic action? A consequences of the drug molecule after binding with the target is called as pharmacodynamic action. So a drug after binding with its target, it shows some effect, it shows some cellular effects, or it shows its effect on cell function. In order to correct the cell function, sometimes it shows its action on a infective microorganism, either to inhibit their growth or either to kill. So that comes under pharmacodynamic action. We will discuss in the tomorrow's class. With this, I complete today's lecture. I appeal all the final year students, you follow my video lecture thoroughly. This is the only way to reach to you, my lecture to you through a video lecture. Now I planned to teach the live classes, but I thought that you are in the villages. There is a problem of net connection. Some of the students has only laptops. Some of the students, other students may has a mobile phones. They may not be, sometimes they may not be Android. So there is a connection, net connection problem. If connected, there may be problem of reaching my voice to you, or there may be a video problem, visual problem. So there are different type of factors involved in the live classes, live teaching classes. One is net connection problem. If connected, there may be disconnection during the live lecture, and there may be problem of audio and video visibility. Therefore, I changed my plan to reach you through my video lectures, uploading in a YouTube, to provide a link of YouTube to you in order to watch my video at any of your convenient time with a number of times, n times. You may, there is a provision to be watch my video lecture at any your convenient time at a number of n number of times until you learn subject. Therefore, I appeal all the final year students to watch, to listen my video lecture carefully and learn the topic. I am teaching a fundamentals of drugs briefly in order to carry you along with me to be travel during the learning of the topic of drug design and drug discovery. Hence, once again I appeal all the final year, second year, either MSc Organic Chemistry students or MSc Pharmaceutical Chemistry students of Campus College of Telangana University, if reached, if possible, to the students of Biknoor PG Campus, South Campus Biknoor, to watch my video lecture carefully, listen carefully, connecting headphones in order to listen a voice clarity, and after listening my class, I am also, in addition to video lecture link sending through a WhatsApp group, I am also sending the related lecture, the video related notes through a WhatsApp group to you. After listening my class, my video lecture, you please write down the notes in your notebooks. Do not neglect. You write down the notes in a notebooks and you read well. Once in a day, in such a way, you should be ready to be write an examinations at any time, because in this semester it is not possible to listen a class by sitting in a classroom of the university due to COVID-19 pandemic disease, you know all well. Therefore, once again I appeal you follow my video lectures. This is the only possibility with me to be teach a allotted topics to me, to you. Thank you. With this, I complete my lecture.